On this week's episode of The Riff, Martz and Drew sit down with Carmen and hear her story. I don't often say this, but we know this one will be helpful. Thanks for listening.
Hello and welcome to another episode of The Riff and The Riff. And okay, first off, it's not just me and Drew here today. Drew's closing that door. He's not leaving. Well, and if you're listening, you're like, what is even going on?
Goodbye.
So you hear another voice here. We are here with Carmen Green.
Hi. Good morning.
Which we don't usually have guests on the show. Maybe we'll start. This will be the beginning of that. I agree. But we are here with, I said guest. I feel like a North Point legend. Okay, and you've been around North Point for a long time. How long?
I mean, since the beginning.
Really?
The beginning of
like
time.
The theater beginning?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
Whoa.
I
want to get through this introduction, but I really want to know, what brought you here?
Yeah. I mean, so we were a plant from James River.
Yeah.
And so they're just like, anybody that wants to come over can help start this church. And I had a friend, I didn't even want to come over, but she was the worship leader at the time. And she's like, I think you should come. And just from that invite, I got on the worship team and I was sold from the beginning.
This would have been 2003, right? Or 2002?
Something like that.
The timeline,
Yeah.
probably
Just,
around there. Yeah, in the theater. And we just saw the place explode. And it was really fun. It's always been fun to be a part of. But I've seen all the stages.
And when did you come on staff?
Oh, gosh. Let's see. This is 2016. So probably 2013.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Because I got married in 2013.
Okay.
That's right. So I was stipend 2014. And then I think I went part-time. And then around COVID. Yeah, that's right. So around 2019, I think I went full-time.
So Carmen was a worship leader at our Nixa campus for a long, long time. And I just want to get straight into it. Okay. It seemed like your life was pretty normal.
Very normal.
You were, you hopped on staff at the church. Things were going well.
Yeah.
And then pretty much overnight, something crazy happened and then your whole life changed.
Yeah.
Walk me through
literally, and not even being, dramatic. I mean, overnight our lives changed. I've lived a very boring life, honestly, up to that point. Just, I liked calm and structure and, go to
slow
work.
mornings, long walks on the beach.
Yeah, like structure, this is what happens all the days. And anyway, we had just come off a vacation in Arizona. We're, climbing mountains and hiking trails and living our best life. That's what I love to do. Just a couple weeks before that. And then I came back and just realized I was having like this bruising on my legs. And I was like, you don't just like wake up with a bruise. Like there's a reason you usually get a bruise. And it kept getting worse. And I was like, Kevin, something's wrong. I didn't even have a primary care doctor.
So you were like,
person.
Crazy healthy.
Yeah. I just didn't even go to the doctor. But I was like, okay, I need to get in. Of course, it's like, oh, we can get you in 6 weeks. I was like, I think I probably need to get in before then. So, I actually went to the ER. On a recommendation, I did like the telehealth thing. And they were like, maybe just go to the ER. They'll have the test. They were so like calm about the whole thing. And I was pretty calm too. I was just like, I just want to figure out what's going on. And so I literally had my laptop, my North Point laptop, I'm at the Cox ER. I'm base camping, the Nixa campus saying, no worries, I'm just at the ER, getting something checked out.
I'll be in about an hour.
Yeah. I'm not going to make it to students tonight, I think is what I said. And, Alvarez, he was like, I think it's kind of a big deal that you're at the ER. And anyway, they took me back, did some blood tests, and just a bomb dropped, like the poor doctor, she was like, have you Googled anything? Like she was trying to like step lightly into it. Thankfully, Kevin was there. My older sister was there, just as support. And we said, well, we when you Google stuff, you have these symptoms or whatever, and you do not think the top thing was leukemia. And we were like, oh no, it's not that.
See, I'm the opposite.
You go WebMD and you're like, it's the worst thing.
Whatever the worst thing is, I assume that's what it is. I'm like, yeah.
Usually that's me, but I was like, oh, it's not that. But I knew something was wrong. And I said, well, we Googled leukemia. And she was like, yes. And that's how the room felt. We were like, okay.
Are you sure? I mean, or was it instantly like, oh no, like.
I accepted it.
Okay.
I knew something was wrong. I did not know what that meant, what those words meant at all. I was like, okay, cancer. Don't like that word at all. But I was like, okay, people treat this. What are the next steps? Poor Kevin, was like a ton of bricks. I in my soul knew something was wrong. So at least I was like prepared. But I think he was like really, freaking out. But I was like, okay, so what's next? And they're like, well, you're gonna need to meet with an oncologist and everything. And I was like, okay, yeah. And we're gonna try to get you up to Barnes. Okay. And then the big news was like, okay, well, it was in a couple weeks. Do we drive up there? And they're like, no, you're not leaving the ER. We're putting you in an ambulance.
Oh, wow.
And you're going tonight. Like, you're starting treatment, like, right now. I'm like, I can't leave.
You're like, I didn't pack clothes. I need to let people know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, ridiculous. Because I was like, I have a weekend job.
You think I'll be back this weekend?
I didn't say that.
No.
It's so funny to think about now. I was like, do you think I'll be back for the weekend? They're like, no. And they'll go, your husband can leave. He'll pack you a bag. You're not leaving. I said, well, how long do we pack for? And I think they said, like 3 days, maybe a week. We were there a year.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
And what year was this? You said 2016?
Oh, well, when I was diagnosed, this was late 2022.
Okay.
Yeah. So like October, I think November 1st is when I actually went to the ER.
Wow.
Yeah. So, they gurney you up. My sister stayed. She was great. She was like making lists. Like we were kind of like, she was kind of took over
problem
at that
solve
point.
mode.
She's like,
yeah,
this is what you need, toothpaste and all this stuff. So Kevin like stumbles out, and starts packing bags and just load me into the ambulance. Actually, we ended up at KU Med. Barnes they didn't have the capacity to accept us. So the KU took us, and that was actually ended up wonderful. But yeah, I'm in the back strapped, to this gurney. Don't ever go in an ambulance if you can help it. It's like you're in the back of a cargo plane, like you're just like, bouncing around. And I would just remember thinking, we're pulling out of Springfield, and I'm like, is this real? Is this really happening? Am I in a dream? I really was like, how is this possible? I remember I texted Alvarez. I'm like, I'm okay. I'm headed to Kansas City. I'm just letting you know I'm okay. And then I remember thinking, like, there's a voice in my head of like saying, you're strong. And I, told the voice back, I am, but I do not want whatever is on the other end of this drive. What is going to be there for me? And that was the journey that we were on for the next year. Yeah.
Okay, one of the things I do know is you're a fellow 6 on the Enneagram next to me.
Yes.
So did your mind start going worst case scenario, or, what were some of the fears that crept up probably on that 3-hour car ride?
Oh gosh, yeah. You have lots of time to like think and process. They do say with the 6s, when catastrophe happens, you actually get pretty calm, which did happen. I was like, well, I never planned for this. You plan for all the things, and you're like, I knew something was wrong. So I was just kind of happy to be like, okay, well, here's a path forward. And the things that scared me were kind of ridiculous. More of like, well, am I going to have a job? am I going to have insurance? How am I going to pay for this? How do people pay for this when they don't have a job? That's more of like the stresses that I was thinking about. And then later on, once you realize how serious it is, you're like, really serious questions like, am I going to make it through this? We had those conversations. But yeah, it was like even the day-to-day stuff was more of the fear than anything. Yeah, at the beginning. Mm-hmm. And then it's more just like the treatment of like, okay, well, what's this going to do to me? And, you just like pray over yourself every time they give you like chemo treatment or blood transfusion. I got really grateful for people that donate blood. I'd always been somebody that donated, when they have like the blood mobile, I would always donate. And now I'm like, I am literally receiving life right now. I was so thankful. And also, kind of scared because you're just like, well, I just hope this all, does what it needs to do. So, yeah.
So you were at KU Medical, you said for a year.
Yeah. I mean, in treatment. So basically, we were up there for the first time 3 weeks in the hospital. And then they're like, you cannot be within less than 30 minutes of the hospital. That's also very scary. You're like, well, what does that mean?
Why? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Because basically you're super immunocompromised. And if you get an infection, they're like, you just get in the car, tell us you're coming. There will be a bed ready for you. So that's scary, So then Kevin's like, well, we got to find a place to live. And at that point, I was like, I can't even process whatever that is. I just need to like do what I'm doing. And this is your job now. So actually, he had to find us a place to live. How are you going to pay for that? I don't know. I don't know how we're going to pay for that. You just stop caring about like how it's all going to work out. So we had to find a place to live, got out of the hospital, but then you go into like clinic treatment. So you're just like driving in and I don't know, 3 times a week, 5 times a week, felt like ever for like another phase of treatment. So I don't think it was like March we got to go home at all. And that was amazing. They're like, you can go home so then it would be like a couple days or like a week or something like that.
How weird was it coming home then?
It was weird. Yeah, it was like we had 2 lives. We were like living in 2 different worlds. It was nice to come home, but it was strange because also I decided, well, we're not living in the house. Why don't we renovate the house?
Makes sense. Checks out.
Yep.
Like I need things to do. Also, I needed something. And we had been thinking so long about it. And we never would have done it without this happening. And I was like, well, it gives me something to do. Gives me something to look forward to. And also we had horrible gross carpets in the house. I was like, I kind of want to come home to like a clean house, with nice flooring and everything. And so, shout out to Gina McMurtry, North Pointer. She was our designer and she was sending me samples,
Yep.
And so we did that. But so when we did come home, we had to live with other people, which was also pretty great, actually. When you get sick, you kind of become like shameless and how you just like, hey, can I live with you? So we, our house being renovated and we got to live with people. We got to do community with people. That might be the core takeaway of like you lean into the community of people that like these hands that just come under you and they're like, we're just here. And not just here, but like, we're going to mow your yard. Our neighbors, we got to know our neighbors really well. I would say we're good friends now with our neighbors instead of just like, hi. Immediately they would pick up our mail. Their son would mow our yard. They just kind of looked after that. Oh, we had cats at the time. What's going to happen to the cats? We're just here. They had to live on their own for a while. They would take care of the cats. People from North Point, demoed the inside of the house, helped us move in and out. I mean, that's what, I don't know, just leaning into your community and just like falling into these hands because you feel like you're kind of in free fall. That's how I always felt like I'm just like
You had control and you had a plan and you had a predictable life, and all of a sudden you have none of those things.
None of it.
And you're at
Yeah.
And you can't even do what you need to do in life without the help of other people.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, like you lose your identity, like I was a worship leader. I loved doing that. Couldn't do that anymore. It's like when your life goes from like 100 to 0 in like a day, and then you're just like, in the hospital. And I remember I would just watch like the seconds of the clock tick by, because I was like, I was in shock, I think too, but I was like, what am I doing?
What was the scariest thing that the doctors told you? Like, did they give you like a prognosis of like, hey, here's... Yeah.
So it was probably, we'd gotten out of the hospital the first time, and I was still super positive. I was like, okay, let's just, get through this first phase. And then, so we got out of the hospital, and then the second cycle of treatment was in the clinic, and you do all these tests and everything, and they're like, well, you're in remission. And I was like, well, great, where's the door? Like, get me out of here. And they're like, well, no, that's good news, but like, that doesn't mean you're done. You need to be in like deep remission. And I was like, what does that mean? I've always thought remission just means I'm done. But they're like, well, we just can't detect that it's there, but that means it's still there. We just don't have the tools to like tell you it's there. And so they're like, you're going to go into this cycle. And so that's when I had asked the doctor at the time, okay, well, what is the prognosis? And he goes, do you really want to know?
Oh.
And I was like, well, now I
have to know.
Now I have to know. And yeah, that was a tough day. He was like, well, without a stem cell transplant, like 35% chance of like survival. And with a stem cell transplant, I think it was like around 55. So I was like, okay, so a flip of a coin if I live or don't live, even like the best case scenario. Mm-hmm. And that's when, that was a tough day. Kevin and I were like, okay, like this is real. He's like, that was probably the toughest day. Yeah.
So how long have you been a Jesus follower?
I grew up in the church. My dad was a pastor.
Same. Same.
Yeah. So I always lived the life.
Yeah.
But did I really walk the walk, so my whole life, probably in college is when I started to kind of own it more.
How did you reconcile? So like a lot of times we talk about, we can position, well, if you follow Jesus, everything's great. And seems like you'd been doing it all the right way. Mm-hmm. How did you process some of that? Like through the faith lens of, I'm sure you had the why me's and just walk me through that spiritual journey.
Yeah.
Like, what was that like?
I never felt like God did it to me. Like, why did you do this to me? I feel like that's just like the world we live in, like things just happen. People get sick. We all die. But I did have okay, what do I really believe? Like, really? Because you're staring, at like possible death, They're asking you, you should probably get your will, do you have a power of attorney, that kind of stuff. And so you're like, okay, do I really believe, deep down, all of this stuff? And I seriously wanted an angel or Jesus himself to come into my hospital room and say, it's going to be okay. And I remember I was like, God, am I going to die? And I didn't get an answer. It wasn't like, it's going to be okay or no or yes. And that was like, okay. But I just kept doing what I had always kind of been doing. You dig in, to scripture. Honestly, North Point Online was like a huge anchor to us. And you just kind of like parse out, okay, well, what's real here? What do I truly believe? What matters? And for me, it was just being faithful to what I'd already been doing, but I didn't feel like name it, claim it, or like, I'm going to be victorious over this. Some people would say that, and I'm like, I don't know that's going to happen. I have not felt that in my soul. Honestly, how I felt God was through his people. Yeah. That's how I felt him, through the people, through the hands that we fell into. We had somebody pay our mortgage for the time that we were there. But just the community of people was like, here I am. This is where I'm at. And that's, I wrote that in my journals and stuff, like the staff, North Point, but just your neighborhood, honestly, just everybody, your friends, like all the people that you've had some connection with. And I hope everybody gets that when they go through, like the bottom falls out. 'Cause you're just like carried, you're literally just like carried in the hands and the prayers of the people that are happy to help, really happy just to be Jesus. That's how I felt Jesus was through his people.
So you go through remission. You're able to go kind of home, kind of not. What kind of perspective now on the other side? Is it like, well, let me just pick back up where I left off? No, you're like, I've gone through, there's the Psalm, Lord, teach me to number my days so I may gain a heart of wisdom. There's probably some wisdom that came with that. Walk me through that perspective shift that you had as you're coming back to maybe more normal life.
Yeah. And there is no normal. Yeah. They give you like a counselor, which I'm so helpful for. You kind of get to talk through stuff. But I was like, there's going to be like a pre-life before stem cell and then something after. Just physically what you go through, But yeah, even coming home, you're so happy to be home, so happy to see like the people around you, but you're changed, you're different. And you kind of feel like, you had this whole year and everybody else had their year.
Yep.
And so you're like in a time warp. You feel like you're just going to pick up and you're like, oh my gosh, well, we have a new building now, at Nixa, which I knew, but, it was like a completely different building, giant, big stuff happening. I was totally changed, but I was happy, so grateful. Just like that whole next year, 2024, was just like me and another buddy, we said it was our victory lap, like we were just so grateful, just you see the world differently, you're just happy for the sun to be out and to be in it, to be sitting on your back deck or walking in the park or being able to drive yourself. I couldn't drive myself. Going to see coffee with people. Everything was like, you're just like a baby, you're like, everything's wonderful. You just feel like, okay, well, I got a new life. I got a life again. Yeah.
What were some of those things that you're like, I'm not picking that back up?
Some things come back. Your personality comes back, but yeah, just kind of the worry or just even like job stuff or the stress. I always feel like people, we all just work too hard. Everybody just works too hard. It's like the American way or whatever, you're just, and you're like, but why? Why are we doing this? Like, why are we killing ourselves? So, just a very much more relaxed life. And thankfully, Kevin, because I'm married and he has a job, I was able to do that. He goes, just take the year off. Because I was like, I got to work. I got to, whatever. And he's like, just take the year and just do whatever you want to do. And it was kind of amazing. And I'm kind of still in that season. I did go back part-time to another job. I did feel like God was like, your season at North Point is over, which I fought hard. I was like, no. This was like that was one of the things I was like, my goal of like reason to come back. They were holding my job. North Point was amazing to me. And I had every intention of coming back. And then there was a scriptures or podcast. Literally there, I was like, no, Kevin, this doesn't make sense. I was like, this is how I'm feeling. He's like, it's going to be okay. He just, shout out to Kevin and caregivers in general. He goes, whatever you decide, it's going to be okay. And then I remember like picking up, my Bible verse for the day, and it was like, it could not be clearer. It said, let go of the past. It's a new day. And I was like, I gotta let this go. I gotta let North Point, my position, go. And that was really hard. And then it was fine, on the other side of it, it was fine. So,
You still lead worship at the church. How do you, you sing some, when we sing worship songs, we sing some very powerful words that they can just become words. Mm-hmm. How do you lead worship differently now?
So differently. Exactly what you said. Like, there are songs that you sing and there's songs that you live. And I feel like, I sing the words now, I wasn't made to be in the grave. I was called and raised, born to live a life again, and I was meant for more. I mean, I'm like, I have stared that grave, I've stared into it. Or, when we'd be online and I couldn't make it through an online service without like sobbing in my, whether we were living in a hotel or the hospital room, when it was like, call these bones to live on the songs that we were singing. I was like, it's very real to me now. Even this last weekend, I can't even remember what song we were singing. Well, I think I saw Kevin. I see him in the back with his hands just raised, and I'm just like, I'm going to lose it. I'm not going to be able to sing. It's hard to not well up with tears of gratitude, when you sing those songs. And I mean, what a gift to not just be singing the words, but like living the words that we sing.
It's powerful. Tell me more about one thing I've been thinking about, which is church, and just the world and how church is. And it's what you said. It's like Jesus often, the works of God are most often done by the people of God. And that sounds like kind of cornball preacher talk, but it's also like what you just said of like, hey, the church, we can make the church a building. Mm-hmm. We can make it about a preacher. We can make it about a brand, but it's like, it's not those things. Mm-hmm. The church, Acts 2, Ephesians 4, 1 Peter 2 have been living in those worlds of like, okay, God, what is the church? Mm-hmm. It's the people. Mm-hmm. And it's the people that come together. And, you look at those things in Acts 2 where it's like they gathered around teaching and doctrine and all those things, but it also said they sold what they had and had all things in common. You look at 1 Peter 2 and it's like, hey, everyone's a brick in the wall. Like we're all, it's the people, Can you talk me through more about like your experience with that? Like, because if you grew up in church, Sunday rhythms, the whole thing, but it sounds like you saw a completely different side of what the church can be.
100%.
Because it wasn't just like Pastor Jeremy or, showing up and he was at my hospital bed. So that was the church. Like, no, it was actually just the people in the pews, the people in the seats that came around.
Yeah.
What was that like?
Oh my goodness. I mean, people did visit, which was amazing. I was so, just lonely. You're so isolated, you're like, I don't know anybody here. The calls, the care packages, the GoFundMe stuff. But I'll tell you, even what I found is like the churches outside of the church, people that don't even know they're being like the church. So the hospital became like a church to me. And the way that they care for people, I think when anybody is like doing something in love and kindness, they're being God, whether they know it or not. And just the care of the doctors and the nurses, those were our relationships. And also the other people that were going through it, that became really purposeful. Like we would meet other patients in the hospital wing, and a lot of them were believers. I think when you're facing very, very difficult circumstances, spirituality, your people are very open to like, spiritual things, prayer, whatever. People would write scriptures on their hospital, doors, and all the interaction was like, you have this little circle that you could walk around the hospital. That was your exercise. You got your IV pole, and we're all like, tromping around. And Kevin started it. He was a lot more open to just meeting people, but then, we would just reach out to people and be like, what's your story? Why are you here? And, those people we're still good friends with, and those became our community of like people cheering you on. I found that the church is everywhere.
How is your relationship to God different today than it was 5 years ago?
I just feel like I'm more authentic in my life. Even like being on staff at a church, I felt like pressure that I put on myself really to be in a role, like this is my role. This is what,
People expect something of me, so I need to meet some of those expectations maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I just didn't I make time for people a lot more than I did. You're just busy. I'm always just task driven. Like, okay. We're having a conversation, but I'm in my head thinking, what else do I need to be doing right now?
I've never thought that, so that's crazy.
Yeah. What's that like?
So yeah, you're forced to be present, for a while. And then you're just like, I want to be present. I want to be present for my own life. I want to be present for people. I'm a lot more empathetic than I used to be. I always felt like cancer is something that somebody else always got, poor them. Let me pray for you and, get on with my life if I'm just being honest. And now I'm like, you've gone through something traumatic. Doesn't have to be cancer or whatever. I'm like, what's going on? Tell me, and I have the capacity to do that now because I'm not working, but I am just more present with people.
I think a lot of people, I know for me, when I hear about someone who's in the middle of a cancer battle or whatever hard thing they're going through, sometimes you don't know what to say. Mm-hmm. And it's like, well, I don't know what to say. And I think a lot of times people say nothing or do nothing because like, well, I don't even know how to help. Mm-hmm. What was the most helpful? I mean, you talked about people like showing up for you, but what would you tell someone who's like, yeah, I know someone in my life who's going through it and I don't really know how to engage?
I think it's maybe everybody has a different way like of processing things. For me, I want people in my life, people that love me and people that I love. So I just needed, for physical presence was super important. So, and you don't have to say anything or do anything, you can be normal. I don't know how Brad and Leah Fox, they were just amazing of like, calling us and just shooting the breeze, or we could talk about whatever, I guess, cause he'd been through it too. He was still waiting for a liver transplant, I don't just be normal. Just like, it's okay to talk about whatever you need to talk about, or just be here. Yeah. Just be beside you. I had read this book. Somebody sent me a book, and they said, the best thing that somebody can do is just say, "Here's your latte." You know, like you don't have to say anything. You don't have to come up with a scripture or like, you know, God's got this or whatever, platitude, whatever. Just like, here's your latte.
Yeah.
That would be a ministry to me. Just bring me a latte. Just play a game with somebody or even, I think the hardest thing is, well, just let me know if you need something. That's probably hard for people because they're like, well, I mean, some people might be okay with that. Like, well, I need this, this, and this. Well, just see what they need and just like do it.
That's good.
Yeah. Like if they need, you just got out of the hospital, you probably don't want to cook food. So let's bring over some food. Let's do a meal train.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because even like I found myself doing that. Well, let me know what you need. And it's like, because I don't know how to help. I want to come across as helpful and supportive, but I don't know what to do. And it's like, I think even that's like a simple thing of like, hey, just go meet a need. And did people bring you gross meals that you didn't like? I'm always worried about that. Same, man. I'm like, well, what if they don't like what I made, you know?
You just pick it up from a restaurant so that you like it.
Yeah.
I mean, since we were living in Kansas City, we just got like lots of gift cards.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. You can go wrong with a gift card.
Yeah. So
where are you at in your health journey now? In true Riff fashion, I actually don't know this entire story.
Yeah, and there's more to it because I relapsed last year, so I went through a whole thing last year. But yeah, I'm a year out from treatment, like in remission. Hooray, hooray! No treatments, no chemo or anything. Yeah, so I just did like a bunch of things. You know, after a year, they do the test that they do at the beginning, they do them at the end. All the deep stuff. And yeah, just last week, we just were like, it's all good. So we're just like very happy, very grateful, and also just like cautious.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Because you don't know with what I have. It could come back. So we live in the present. We live in gratitude and, you know, I'm going back to school. I went back to school. I'm going to OTC, which has been such a surprise to me. And people are like, what are you going to do next? And I'm like, I don't know. I really don't know. I try not to plan too far out because I don't want to like live in the future, you know, of like, oh, when you're in this destination, when I get there, that's where I'm going to be like, oh, this is where I'm headed. And I don't live that way anymore. And that's a gift of just like, man, just enjoy today.
If you had to leave, I know we're kind of wrapping up here. If you had to leave something for North Point today, right? If you were going to, hey, here's one tip, here's one tidbit, here's one perspective shift. If I could urge you to see, what would that maybe be?
For a North Pointer?
Yeah. For anyone listening.
Just get to know people. Join a pickleball group. If that's what your thing is, or join a small group, or serve outside of the walls. You know, find something, find people, get to know your neighbors, build community, because it really matters. Like to care for somebody else, for them to care for you, for them just to not feel so alone in whatever you're going through.
Last question. If someone is listening to this now and they're where you were in 22, where they're just now getting a diagnosis, just now going through, and the diagnosis might be physical, but someone just is on day one of what is a surprise, hard journey they're about to embark on, what would you tell them?
It's going to be okay. And process it the way you need to process it. You know, sometimes I think as believers, you feel like you have to like claim victory over something and be like, and you can be that if you want to be that. But there was a season where I was like, I just need to feel what I need to feel right now. I don't need to be victorious for somebody else to feel okay about this. I just need to be like, however this is going is how I'm going to be. And then you find your way kind of through it. But, obviously hold on to scripture, hold on to God, be honest. in your prayers. I think there's no way you can't be. But yeah, there's a goodness that comes through it and out of it. It's hard to see in those first steps in the middle of it, but take a breath, lean into your people, and just take a step forward. Do what the next step is and do that. Keep going.
Carmen, thank you. Riff, thanks for going on this journey with us. We'll see you next week.
Thanks for listening to this episode of The Riff. We'll have a brand new episode every week, wherever you find podcasts.